I figure that at the time of this recording, Masaaki Yuasa is a name that needs no introduction, mostly because people might have just become aware of his existence through Netflix's own Devilman Crybaby, which is only the last of a series of works that he, well, worked on as a director. Masaaki Yuasa is, for lack of a better term, the Frankenstein of animation, and honestly, I initially thought I wasn't going to record this, shall we say, impromptu review for the film I watched tonight. Mostly because everything I could possibly say about the man and his art and his style and his vision, so to speak, has already been said in my Kaiba review, which you can find in the link up above. There it is. Go watch it. Regardless, I thought it was important to give you a bit of a preamble before I get to briefly talk about Lu Over the Wall, which is his third feature-length film. Masaaki Yuasa is not a man that follows the rules, he never has. He has a different style. It's not good in the traditional sense of perfectly easy to follow big-time animations such as Studio Ghibli's or Disney, to give you a couple of topic examples, which are also topical inspirations of his, especially in this last one. But he is good in the sense that he is an alternative to mainstream animation. And when I say mainstream animation, I also refer to the anime industry, to how typically Japanese animations tend to look, which not only have very strict character models that never go off models, but they also have very limited use for dynamic animations and movement, depending on style, individual style or budget. It changes, it varies by animators to studio, to other studio, and so on and so forth. Studio Ghibli has its own recognizable style, Madhog has its own recognizable style, and Masaaki Yuasa has his own very recognizable, unbridled, wild, off-model, inconsistent style smeared all over the screen of your TV or computer, depending on where you are watching one of his animations. And chances are you might want to dig up some of his animations if you really enjoyed Crybaby. Oh, and by the way, I didn't. And I have tweeted enough about it that I don't feel like bringing it up in this particular video again. If it seems like I am stalling before I actually talk about Lu Over the Wall, that's exactly what I am doing. And for good reason. Like I said, I don't really have much to say about this film that I haven't already brought up in a previous review of Masaaki Yuasa's work. It's a really gorgeous, really interesting, upbeat, colorful, psychedelic, maddening animation that the memory of which will stay with you until the day you die. But it doesn't quite deliver anything particularly substantial when it comes to the story. It's a similar problem that he has always had in his projects, at least the ones I've seen. I am yet to watch the Tatami Galaxy, oddly enough. I tried to at some point, but I cannot follow the subtitles because they are scrolling too fast. I need to wait for a properly dubbed version before I can even hope to follow any of that. But regardless, I've seen enough of his work to have a good idea of what his problem as a storyteller is. As an animator, as I said, he has such a unique style, such a different, alternative style that one cannot help but admire it. But he cannot tell a cohesive or coherent narrative to save his life. Kaiba is a perfect example of that. It starts off with a very intriguing premise, very intriguing characters, guiding you through this incredibly interesting premise, but it cannot deliver in the second half, it cannot deliver in the ending, whereas several smaller subplots collide together into a unmitigated disaster of an ending that leaves you wondering what in the world did you just watch. Kaiba had that problem. Again, watch my video about it. And yes, Lu Over the Wall has that very same problem. When you go watch a film or a series by Masaaki Yuasa at this point, you would have to have an acquired taste for his work. You should know what to expect. I knew what to expect. I expected really wild animation and really different styles of animations too, colliding with each other. You can easily tell when a scene was animated by a completely different person altogether. Every time. The change in style tends to be jarring, but again, that's expected. And that's what I've come to accept as his vision, and I like it. I am a fan of his vision, so to speak. I am just not a fan of his stories, because there isn't really much to tell to begin with. It's a classic story of boy befriends supernatural creature, in this case a mermaid, with a really weird but original and creative design, and story happens, I guess. Again, it doesn't really amount to much. Even thematically, it has a few, say, messages about being young and being anxious about the future and everything in between, but it doesn't really amount to anything interesting or that you haven't seen before. It's mostly there to be an excuse to tie, or at least attempt to tie up the story together. And when I say story, I use all the quotation marks in existence, because really the only element that moves the so-called plot along is whatever weird, trippy, animated extravaganza you are going to see next. And that's really what drives the whole enterprise until the end, until the very wackadoodle psychedelic ending, which is unsurprisingly what it is. I still decisively would recommend it, especially if you're interested in knowing more about the Frankenstein of Animation. It's a must-watch, in fact, if you ask me. There is this really nice effect of the water, the main heroine's hair. There are plenty of scenes of people dancing, looking like something out of Tex Avery's Nightmares. It's really, really well animated. They even show something as mundane as opening up a fish, a boiled fish, using the sticks, and it looks fantastic. When you watch a Masaaki Yuasa film, you should expect top-notch quality animation, if terribly inconsistent, and pretty much nothing else of import. The story is very run-of-the-mill and confusing, and again, several subplots and conflicts trying to collide all at once for the third act that you don't care about because there virtually wasn't any substantial development for these subplots. They are just there for the sake of being there, and that's about it. So again, story-wise, it's forgettable. Animation-wise, it stays with you forever. It will haunt your dreams. If you're a fan of Masaaki Yuasa or a neophile of his vision, I definitely recommend it. I believe it's an essential watching at this point, especially for that dancing scene right in the middle of it. That's bound to be a meme anytime soon. This has been Madhog Thy Master. Have a happy life.